Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am the author here at Hearthside Blog. I'm just working on making some audio/video copies of my entries just to make them more accessible to a larger audience. Today I am looking at my most popular post to date, which is called Heathen Lullabies and Raising a Whole Child. So I was on TikTok and I stumbled across a woman who was singing a song that was for her daughter about Freya. And it wasn't in this case a lullaby, but she was suggesting something to wake her up in the morning. I've included all the links below the video if you want to check out different songs that I talk about in this, but it got me thinking partly about heathen lullabies and if there were any, or if there were songs that could be heathen lullabies that already existed, and it got me thinking about heathen parenthood as well. So that's where the part about raising a whole child comes from. For those of you who don't know, I am trained as an educator and I work mostly with elementary age children. So something that we learn about in the teaching program is about, they call it multiple intelligences, and you may be familiar with the main three, which are visual learning, kinesthetic learning, and auditory learning. But there's actually suggested up to 9 different intelligences that all people have to some extent, and when you're teaching, then you're appealing to the learning styles that your children are best at so that they understand better, but you also, as a parent, want to be trying to nurture all of those intelligences in your child to make them a more rounded child. So there's visual learning, as you know. There's also one called logical or mathematical learning. Verbal linguistic, which has to do with words. Interpersonal, which is how they interact with their peers. And intrapersonal, which is how they know themselves. Musical, and then kinesthetic. Then naturalist, which is like science and nature, and the last one is called existential. And the problem with most public modern schools is that they are not catering to the existential needs of children, and the reason why is, of course, separation of church and state and all of that. But there are other ways that you can create this sense of spiritual well-being in a child without touching on religion, teaching them about taking deep breaths or calming themselves, meditation practice, yoga. These sorts of things can be incorporated into a classroom or into your everyday life without teaching about a specific religion. So I know a lot of parents, they're raising their kids heathen, or they're not raising their kids heathen, they're raising them a different religion that's in that household. And some parents are choosing to not really raise their child a specific religious way, and that's the method that me and my husband are looking at when we have children as well. Because we want our child to explore any religions that they're exposed to and make an informed decision. But even so, you still need to keep the existential needs of your child in mind, which is their spiritual needs. So that is teaching them how to calm themselves, how to find beauty in the world around them, and use that for their spiritual well-being. It doesn't have to do with any deity, it doesn't have to do with any specific religious teachings. It's just another tool that they can use to help them be successful. So there's a lot of different kids in a public school classroom coming from all sorts of different religious backgrounds. And the importance in a classroom is to celebrate all those differences and make them part of the fabric of that classroom. In your own home, you might have children that are friends with your children who come into the house who are of a different religion, and the same thing, making everybody feel safe and comfortable in your home, regardless of what their religious background is. That's teaching empathy to your children, and it's teaching them that different ways of being are okay and that they can explore them safely. So in a classroom setting, we might share some of our traditions or cultures with the class, but it doesn't happen enough because we're so afraid of, well, we're rebelling against having the church in the classroom is what it is, but we're ignoring all the spiritual needs of all the children by barring the church completely from the classroom, whereas what we should be doing is having children share different beliefs and let every belief be celebrated. It doesn't mean that we're expecting to convert anyone to anything. It's just so that children are aware of what's out there in the world and they're prepared for when they're adults out in the world. I was on TikTok again last night because it's a bit of a rabbit hole, and there was a woman who was saying that she never talked to her children about religion or politics at all growing up because those are topics for adults, and I absolutely disagree with that. Not because I want to push any beliefs onto my child or onto anyone's child, but because you're the model for your child. Your child's going to grow up, you didn't talk about politics, and suddenly they're going to have to vote. They don't know anything about politics at all because you refuse to talk about it in your house around them. That is an unhealthy model. And the same thing with religion. How can they make an informed decision if you don't expose them to different beliefs? That doesn't mean just expose them to your beliefs. And you have to be careful, of course, because that is the pitfall that we fall into with a lot of Christian groups that are extremist, is that they indoctrinate their children to only their belief from a young age. But that's not what I'm talking about at all. I am talking about discussing what is out there in the world, preparing your child for the future, and giving them the tools that they need to be successful. This isn't about indoctrinating children. This is about building your child up to be the best that they can be. And I understand that a lot of parents might be atheists as well, and if they're listening in here, the same thing, like, your child is going to school with children that are from religious families, so even if you don't believe in religion, you need to prepare them for interacting with people who do have religion. That doesn't mean you need to take them to church or anything like that. But teaching them what other people believe, and get a book if you're not sure about certain different religious beliefs. Sit down with them, have that discussion, and be like, look, this is what I believe. This is what some other people believe. This is what some other people believe. You're going to encounter people who have these beliefs, and you don't have to have the same beliefs as them. That's up to you. And even if you are an atheist, it can be beneficial to teach them about deep breathing and meditation practices for calming. It doesn't have to have anything to do with religion. It's just teaching them to be healthy in themselves. I don't consider meditation a part of my heathen practice, but it's still something that is a useful tool that I use on my own. So just give the kids the facts in a way that's appropriate for their age. And existential intelligence has to do with the big questions that we all ask. Why are we here? What's our purpose? Where did we come from? These sorts of questions that are difficult to answer. And religions provide their own answers, and each one is different. And the same with science provides answers for why we are here, where we came from, etc. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to answer best for ourselves the questions that we find difficult because they're so huge. Some children are more in tune to asking these sorts of questions and having that sort of broader understanding of things, whereas other children are more into one of the other intelligences that I previously listed, and find that that is a useful strategy for them. But because when we have a child who has such a heavy focus on this existential intelligence, there's no outlet for them in the schools, it may seem like they're not being successful when actually, like, that's the sort of child who might be a genius, for example, who might become an artist, who might make a breakthrough in quantum physics. Like, this is something that we should be encouraging, and the problem with the public school system is it's a one-size-fits-all model, instead of working with what different children have as strengths and helping them build up to be successful using those strengths, and also encouraging them to try different skills that maybe aren't their strengths and grow those as well. Those are the things that you learn about in teaching, and then you find yourself in this system that is not set up to support that at all, and trying to find a balance. So that's pretty much what I was thinking about on this. And the other thing is giving your child choice, trying to be unbiased towards other religions. I know growing up, like, the only religions I knew existed until I was 14 were Judaism and Christianity. So how does your child make an informed choice if they aren't aware of what's out there around them? many children are baptized at birth in Christianity and expected to follow that path. But we have the same problem in heathenry, where we're rebelling so much against the church that we might be saying that Christianity is bad, even though it could be beneficial in the right setting for your child, if that was something that they chose. And just trying to be as unbiased as possible when we're presenting what's out there around them. If your child's going to a public school, they're going to be exposed to mostly Christians. Most of their friends are going to be Christian. They're going to be invited to go to church. They're going to have that experience. And that experience in itself is not bad for your child, but you need to be supportive and ready when they come back to have an informed discussion about what they experienced and help them unravel and make sense of it. Just because they go to church doesn't mean that they've chosen to be Christian. That means that they're interested in what their friends do because they're their friends. So completely banning it, saying they can't go or something, that's going to drive a wedge between you and your child. So that is the sort of situations that I see unfolding in a world that has not very many heathens and so many other religious groups, and us being a minority religion. And my husband, of course, is a Christian, and I am a heathen, so already in our home we're exposing them to multiple beliefs, and we hope that the beliefs of other children when they attend school will broaden their horizons even farther, that they will explore more than just the religions that are practiced in our home. That said, I do want to expose my child to heathenry, and I do want my child exposed to my husband's faith as well. So that means including your child in your practice as much as they're interested in being included. But not pushing it on them or trying to prevent them from exploring other religions, especially other religions within your household, because you don't want to drive a wedge between family members, whether they're adults or whether they're kids or anything. So I am looking at what lullabies that I could sing to my children, and there's not a lot there. The ones that I found that are songs that I think would be good children's songs with a heathen theme are available in the links as I say below. Now, some of them are lullabies, some of them are just other songs that you could use as a lullaby or as a song throughout your day. There is one that I included called the Cuckoo Song, and this is one that I learned as a child, and I just tweaked the original lyrics a little bit from what is being sung in the YouTube video, so I will just give you an example of that one with my lyrics so that you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so this is a song called the Cuckoo Song, and I learned it when I was quite young. I used to use it when I was babysitting. It's especially good for children around the age of 6 months because it has a lot of the ooh sounds that really engage them at that age, but it's also just a really beautiful sounding song, and I just tweaked the lyrics a little bit to make them sound a little bit more heathen, although they sounded fairly heathen already. So this is how it goes. 'Twas on a summer's evening I walked the forest through, when suddenly I heard a sweet and low cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. Manny moon, you're out too soon, for Santa's still in the sky. Go back to bed and cover up your head and wait till the night draws nigh. So that's it. And yeah, just check out the other ones in the link that I suggested if you're looking for other songs. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.